This is a vintage Weather-Matic pop-up sprinkler head. This was removed from service from my parents' house. This was there when they bought the house when I was a very, very, very young kid. I remember there was one instance where my dad actually did turn it on, but I guess he felt there were too many heads or something and decided not to use it and just put out an oscillating sprinkler in the front. This did full front and back. There were a plethora of these heads, and I do have a map of where they are, although a lot of them have been grown over. I'm not certain if this is brass or copper. All of the heads were always this green color like that, as you see. I'd imagine the cutouts are for easy removal in the event it would need service or anything like that, but I don't know that to be fact. Like I said, all of these were a green color, but in removing it, it put some gouges or scratches in it, and that looks very copperish to me, as does the color of this. So I don't know if this is actually just copper or exactly how it is. Of course, it's all metal. One thing you will notice is there is absolutely no filter in this. Just takes water straight. There's no spring. It just works. It just slides and it works. Last this had water running through it 30 something years ago. I don't know. I can't quite tell. This may be a 90 degree. I'm seeing holes starting over here, going around and ending there perhaps. So maybe about 90 degrees, not exactly certain, but it'll shoot out little streams of water from there. This part appears to be knurled. I do not know if that unscrews. I'm not going to attempt to do that because I don't want to damage it. Like I said, this has not had water go through it in many years. I've also never removed any of these heads from that system before. I was not aware that they're only this long. I would have expected they would have been longer, but they're not. So now, for the first time in well over 30 years, we're going to hook this up and send some water through it. Well, I done fucked up. Left the water on and tried turning it on, so it's had water through it now. But we're going to turn it on. I'm going to do it very, very little, and then we'll ramp it up and see what this old girl still got. Oh, that pops up nice and fast. It doesn't look like it's spraying nice or sealing. That may be because it doesn't have enough pressure, or it may just leak. Oh, okay, it goes in all directions. I'm trying to block the water so I'm not in it and run out of it quick. Okay. And that's just a little bit. It's kind of got now like a dead zone here. I'm sure those holes are plugged. I don't know how much more water I could actually pump in this thing as far as pressure goes before it hits me over here. Already. Okay, let's move that out and we'll try it again out on the lawn there. Seems pretty powerful without much water pressure. Let's give it full boat. Oh, hey, look at that. That's decent. It does not rotate, as you might expect. Some holes definitely are plugged. spraying into the shit over the fence. Way out that way there. Let me see if I could zoom in on it. If it'll hold focus right there. Yeah. Huh. Now, if I recall, this was one of the reasons why my dad didn't want to use the system. We have a dead zone here, actually. Sort of. Sort of have a dead zone. So we can kind of move the camera in there a bit, I guess. I don't know if there's supposed to be one or the holes in it are just plugged or what. I don't want to do this too long because the camera is here. Doesn't appear to be spraying it, so hopefully we'll be all right. It's got a little not that good over there, but it sprays out and man, it goes. That's awesome. Man, I have not seen that in years. That's awesome. Let me shut it down. We'll watch it go down. Oh, that is sweet, man. Could you imagine seeing that in your lawn with this nice blue color like that? Just pops up, works every time. There's no springs, no bullshit, nothing. It just works by gravity, the way it was intended. But no. Now we need springs to pull it back down. Right. What a shame. They used to be so good. Imagine having 10 of these on a zone. And you saw how much that sprayed out. Now obviously as you have and add more, you're going to get less and less pressure out of it. But still, I remember there was one where I pulled this from, which is just in a grassy area like this, and then one right up against the patio, which was only a couple of feet away. It really wasn't that far. So I think the one or two or maybe even 3 times my dad actually turned this system on, it had it didn't have, it's not like sprinkler systems today, at least the setup that he had, in that there's no timer or controller. This entire system was completely manual. I think there was a main valve that you would turn on to give water to the system that you could shut off, and then you could turn on, there were 4 zones, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you can have all 4 running at the same time, provided you had enough water pressure. Let me go turn it back on so we can at least have something to look at while I'm talking. Whoa! I gotta move it because it changed. Now the dead zone is kind of here. It's still hitting me a bit, but there we go. It's not spraying it. I don't know that it hit the camera. It doesn't look like it, but if there's water drop on the lens, sorry. There were a lot of heads, and you would control all of this manually. All of the zones had gate valves, the standard type that you'd turn, you know, like a standard water hose bib or water faucet outside, something like that. and you could turn them on somewhat or all the way or anywhere in between. And I remember he just put it on a little bit because while the water pressure that was there was not really that great to begin with, it was enough. And I guess these heads are so good that it just sprays that much. It's really going quite far. The only way I could get through, I want to kind of go over that way, and there's not really a good way for me to do that. I got to run through it twice for that to happen. That's great. Random air bubbles every now and again. We do have a dead zone here again. I can kind of get in here. See if I can just, yeah. Oh, definitely a nice strong, these are like needles coming out. They're sharp. That's cool. Oh, yeah. Wow, I used to know how to make them. You know, you got those, whatever kind they are, the MP rotators. I'm not a sprinkler twerp like that. I just like sprinklers in general. But they got those, and it's complicated. This just works. Now, yes, is it sending water out right there, right there, right there? Yeah. But that's how it was. There were no gears and crazy shit, nothing to break. It just worked. I guess in the event that you had a problem like we see here, you would pop the head up with a small screwdriver and stick a pin in there and try to poke it out, or better yet, unscrew it from the system. And by the way, the riser for it was metal. They don't use that kind anymore. It was metal, and you'd unscrew it and then flush it out, maybe rinse it in the sink, something like that. I don't know. Let me try to move the camera so we can kind of get the sun hitting this a little. Still bubbles. But look how far that shoots out. Look at that. That's like practically hitting the fucking fence. And that's one head. There were a lot of heads in his system. I have a map of that somewhere on the computer. Sometime in the about 2000 maybe ish. Sometime around the year 2000, I think, might have been the last time this had water in it, because my parents went away and I decided to see if that system still worked, and I had very lackluster results. I know one of the pipes is definitely broken. My dad built a shed, and that was built over one head, or even two. I can't remember. There was one that was like kind of knackered, and I don't know if it ever sprayed out, and the other one might just be clear under the shed. I don't know. So whatever's there, it's never going to work again, unfortunately. Would a metal detector find these? Very well, maybe. But it's just amazing to see. And something else that was kind of interesting, a lot of the homes just around the corner, they were built by, if you go around your neighborhood, you will see a lot of houses, in most cases, that look very similar in terms of their structure. Around here, it's cookie cutter, where my next door neighbor, their house is basically an identical replica of my house. It was the same builder. They had the same blueprints, the same plans, everything, and that's all it was. That's all there was to it. Every lot had its own set of blueprints, and it was all the same. And they just built them and built them and built them. And then, of course, you wouldn't necessarily get a sprinkler system with it. But the houses around the corner were totally different houses, built by a different builder. and they had different sprinkler systems. Most of them that I remember had impact sprinklers, but they weren't the kind, what do they call that one that goes in the ground? The maxi paw something? The recessed in the ground, that the whole, it's got a big round thing and just, and then it's got an impact sprinkler in it. Something like that. I can't remember exactly what they're called. Those. House at the corner of my block had those all over, so that was kind of cool. But around the other way, they had impact sprinklers that were not at all part of, really, it was kind of an above ground system. And the way they were installed, I guess they all had the same guy, or that's how they were installing them at the time. I don't know. What they did was they would use a tree or a bush, or if there was some other structure that was there, a hand railing or anything like that. Or sometimes they would just put a metal stake in the ground, and then they would pipe it. The pipe would come up, and there'd be an impact sprinkler on top of that. Some of them also had a thing that the guy, like, you know, made on site, which was to attenuate the stream, because as you see, this is spraying out quite a ways. It would attenuate the stream, and basically on top of the sprinkler, because the impact sprinkler is going to shoot upwards in this kind of direction, he had a sheet metal disc that screwed on top, and he would cut with like tin snips, little flanges, fingers rather, I guess, and you could bend it down here and here so it wouldn't hit the driveway, and would instead be attenuated right there like that and spray more downwards. And you would just bend them and they'd stay in place because it's metal, and I think it was aluminum. They never rusted really, and that was that. But they always look kind of hokey. This was a true in-ground system, and again, it was not automated. It was still manual, and the idea was you would come out the back door, go to the patio, and in the corner there was the main valve you would turn on, and then any of the 4 zones you would turn on, and then you would have to remember to come out, you know, a half hour later or something like that and turn it off, because if you left it on, it would just stay on. But man, that is just absolutely beautiful. I can't. That is really something. I don't know if that's in focus quite. That is really great. That's nice. Anyway, I'm very glad to have that in my collection. Definitely a cherished piece. Are there more? Yes, plenty. Like I said, can they be pulled? Maybe. At one point or another. There's got to be some 90-degree ones. This is a 360. Or 180 degree, I should say. So it's like a semicircle instead of full circle. There's got to be other ones there that were different styles. You would put the one that was there. So anyway, that's what sprinkler systems used to be made of. XJ81X had a system that had a couple of these heads. I forget if I ever got them or he's got them or what. But it had these type heads, and they were that blue color like that, so they may have been copper just like this. I don't know if they're the same type, but this was a Weather-Matic vintage pop-up in-ground sprinkler. Really awesome indeed. And as you see, after all these years, if the rest of the system were maintained, this could keep running and keep running and keep running. There's nothing to break, nothing to go wrong. That's all I have for you. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. That's the brakes, kid. That's all she wrote on this thing. Tried to close it with my pliers, and it wasn't having it. It popped out this thing. I guess the plastic shattered around it. That'll pop right out, so it's done. So I guess I'm gonna have to get a hose reel. Yeah, that's gonna just pop right out. So this thing's done for. That's wonderful. Great. Definitely was not what I was expecting with that. Okay, that's great. Well, I knew its days were numbered, but I thought I could get a couple more years out of it. Oh well,